Across the endless black tapestry of the void, where even light dared not travel, an ancient hunger stirred. Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds, drifted at the edge of a dying galaxy. A titan in the dark, his colossal form cloaked in violet energy, his eyes burning with the cold fire of unquenchable hunger. This was no ordinary hunger. It was the hunger of a cosmic constant, the necessity of death to ensure rebirth, the balance between life and oblivion. For millennia, Galactus had sustained himself by consuming planets, each devoured world delaying the inevitability of collapse. But now, his hunger was deeper, more urgent. The galaxies he once roamed had grown scarce of suitable worlds, and the stars themselves seemed dimmer, as if in fear of his gaze. His herald, fallen in battle eons ago, was no longer by his side to seek out new worlds. Galactus, the great equalizer, had become a predator wandering an ever-shrinking hunting ground. But something else called him now. Something beyond the pull of his endless need. A tremor in the fabric of existence, a wound in the multiverse itself. Galactus turned his gaze toward it, and what he saw made even his ancient mind pause. A ripple of annihilation was spreading, not from within this universe, but from beyond it. From a cancer of antimatter bleeding into reality. Galactus felt the imbalance deep within his essence, like a dissonant chord in the cosmic harmony. And then he saw the source. The Anti-Monitor had come. Across the breach between universes, the Anti-Monitor loomed like a living void, his monstrous form swathed in armor forged of antimatter energies, his eyes twin stars of hate and hunger. Where Galactus consumed worlds to maintain the balance, the Anti-Monitor sought destruction for its own sake, feeding not on planets, but on the very lifeblood of existence, universes themselves. The Anti-Monitor had sensed this universe's weakness, a realm nearing collapse, thinned by the entropy of age and the gluttony of its own denizens. To him, it was ripe for harvest, another universe to reduce to nothingness, to fuel his endless war against the positive matter multiverse. But Galactus stood between him and his prize. Across countless light years, they sensed each other, two cosmic predators who knew that there could be no coexistence. The Anti-Monitor's invasion would destroy the very fabric Galactus relied upon to survive. And Galactus, in turn, would not permit another being to unmake the universe he was bound. To regulate, the clash was inevitable. From his throne world, Galactus rose, summoning his last reserves of the power cosmic. His form shimmered as he expanded to his true scale, no longer masking himself in a size comprehensible to mortals. He became a mountain of energy and intent, larger than solar systems, his presence warping space around him. Stars dimmed, and entire systems quaked at his awakening. The Anti-Monitor crossed the dimensional scar with his antimatter horde, a vast armada of antimatter constructs, their purpose singular, to unmake, to reduce all to the void. His voice echoed across realities, a soundless declaration of war that vibrated through the quantum foam. "This universe shall fall," Galactus answered, his thoughts like thunder in the minds of all who lived. No, not while Galactus endures. Across the gulfs of space-time, they began their march toward each other. Nebulae collapsed in their wake. Entire civilizations, hidden in the corners of the cosmos, watched in terror as these two harbingers of doom drew closer, their collision certain to reshape reality itself. As they approached the center of this universe, the Anti-Monitor released a wave of antimatter energy that consumed stars as if they were candles in a storm. Galactus countered, summoning a lattice of power cosmic, a web of force that stemmed the tide, preserving what little life clung to the stars in that region. It was not mercy, it was balance. Destruction had its place, but so did order. Yet, Galactus felt the weight of his hunger weaken him. He had not fed in centuries. The Anti-Monitor, on the other hand, grew stronger with every atom of matter he erased. A desperate idea formed in Galactus's ancient mind. He reached out beyond the physical, tapping into the residual energies of the cosmic entities he had, battled and bartered with over the eons. If he was to stop the Anti-Monitor, he would have to become more than the Devourer of Worlds. He would need to become a defender of the very universe he had spent his existence consuming. Galactus drew in the last remnants of power from the core of a dead star. The energy surged through him, rekindling his strength, if only for this final battle. His voice echoed across the cosmos once more. Leave this universe, or be undone. The Anti-Monitor responded not with words, but with action. A sphere of pure antimatter, larger than a planet, formed between his clawed hands. With a gesture, he hurled it across the void toward Galactus, a missile of oblivion. Galactus met it with a torrent of power cosmic, the clash igniting a cataclysm that tore holes in space itself. The energies of creation and destruction wrestled, neither yielding as the two titans closed the distance. In that moment, across countless worlds, seers and prophets saw visions of doom. The skies of 1,000 planets burned with unnatural light. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the inevitable. And then Galactus and the Anti-Monitor met. The battle that would decide the fate of reality had begun. The instant Galactus and the Anti-Monitor collided, the universe convulsed. Space buckled and warped. Time rippled like water disturbed by a falling stone. The sheer force of their meeting sent shockwaves through the fabric of existence, shattering moons, tearing apart stars, and collapsing entire solar systems into chaotic whirlpools of matter and energy. Galactus struck first. A titanic surge of power, cosmic burst from his form, washing over the Anti-Monitor in a wave of creation's fury. The energy was blinding, raw, pure. Where it touched the Anti-Monitor's antimatter shell, the two forces warred in a storm of annihilation and rebirth. The void itself seemed to bleed as their powers clashed. Galactus's energy forged temporary stars, flaring bright before, being snuffed out by the Anti-Monitor's withering touch. But the Anti-Monitor did not falter. His massive arms swept through the storm, rending through the webs of power cosmic like a beast tearing apart its chains. His voice was a low, rumbling growl of destruction. You are weak, Galactus. Your time has passed. Galactus answered, not with words, but with action. He summoned a blade of pure cosmic force, its edge brighter than 1,000,000 suns. With a mighty swing, he carved through the Anti-Monitor's shoulder, cleaving through armor and antimatter alike. The wound sizzled and spat fragments of decaying energy, but the Anti-Monitor merely laughed, the sound shaking galaxies. In response, the Anti-Monitor unleashed his true horror, a tide of antimatter energy that swept outward like a tsunami, consuming everything in its path. Planets, asteroids, even the light of distant stars vanished in its advance. Galactus raised his hands, erecting a barrier of power cosmic, but the tide battered against it, cracking it, forcing him backward. Galactus gritted his cosmic will, pushing against the wave. He focused, reshaping the power cosmic into tendrils of creation that wove through the antimatter, stabilizing the destruction, turning it into new matter. For a moment he gained ground, forcing the Anti-Monitor to halt, surprised at Galactus's resilience. But the cost was great. Galactus's hunger roared inside him, now a gnawing void that threatened to consume his very essence. His last meal had been too long ago. He was running on fading reserves. His mighty form flickered, dimmed, as the power cosmic he channeled began to burn through what little strength he had left. The Anti-Monitor, sensing this weakness, pressed the attack. His massive hand clamped around a fragment of a shattered world and hurled it at Galactus with the force of a dying star. Galactus shattered it mid-flight, but the distraction was enough. The Anti-Monitor closed the distance, his armored fist striking Galactus across the helm. The blow sent the Devourer of Worlds tumbling through the wreckage of ruined systems. Galactus recovered, his eyes blazing with defiance. He raised his hands and gathered the remnants of destroyed suns, collapsing them into a single blinding sphere of energy. A newborn star forged in desperation. With a roar, he hurled it at the Anti-Monitor. The star detonated against the Anti-Monitor's chest, a supernova of power cosmic and stellar fury. For the first time, the Anti-Monitor staggered. His armor cracked, and for a fleeting instant, Galactus saw the raw, seething antimatter energy. Beneath, hope flared in the ancient Titan's heart. But the Anti-Monitor only grew stronger. The destruction fueled him. The antimatter energies surrounding him expanded, his form swelling, his wounds knitting together as if they had never been. "Fool!" the Anti-Monitor hissed. "Your strength is finite, mine is eternal." He raised both hands, drawing in the antimatter energy of entire sectors of space. The void around them darkened as stars winked out, their energy feeding into the Anti-Monitor's growing might. Then, with a terrible cry, he unleashed it all in a single devastating beam, a lance of pure destruction that carved through Galactus's defenses, striking him full in the chest. Galactus howled as the blast tore through him. His form faltered, flickered. Entire portions of his body disintegrated under the assault, reduced to motes of cosmic dust. Desperate, Galactus summoned the last of his power, lashing out with one final torrent of power cosmic, a storm so fierce it seared across dimensions, burning the Anti-Monitor's form, tearing chunks from his armor, and shaking the Antimatter King's foundations. But it was not enough. The Anti-Monitor surged forward. Through the storm, his massive hands closing around Galactus's weakened form. He began to drain him, not just of physical substance, but of his cosmic essence, the power. Cosmic itself bled away, drawn into the Anti-Monitor's endless hunger. Galactus struggled, but his strength was gone. His eyes dimmed, his colossal form crumbled piece by piece, the balance he had maintained for eons undone in these final moments. And with a final crushing blow, the Anti-Monitor cast aside the husk of the Devourer of Worlds, his victory complete. The universe trembled in the silence that followed. Where once Galactus had stood as both predator and protector of balance, there was now only the Anti-Monitor, the destroyer unchallenged, the harbinger of oblivion. Across the stars, civilizations felt the weight of that loss, and as the Anti-Monitor turned his gaze to the remaining worlds, they knew the end had only just begun.